How is coronavirus impacting your job at the moment? I was living in Shanghai with a great job and a great apartment. I visited a friend for a last-minute vacation in Taiwan when the virus hit China really bad. My job shut down and I was told not to come back to the country. They stopped paying me salary and housing stipend, even though it's illegal, and I've been stuck in Taiwan ever since trying to start a new life. I essentially lost all my stuff as I couldn't pay for the apartment anymore. Need to resort to teaching English, temporarily, to survive here. No end in sight and not sure what my future holds. It's a scary time and has been a rough month. Goddamn, that sucks. I feel your pain, dude. I was out on assignment for the company and they fired me for not showing up to the office. Well, no shit. I was out on assignment for the company. They cancelled my flight, hotel, and company credit card. It was like they sent me on the assignment specifically to strand me in another country. Sued them and it took forever to get money back. I basically had a reset on my life. And this was in the US. I can't imagine how little protections you'll get having to fight China. I work for Starbucks. We are no longer making drinks in personal cups and we have a timer set for every 30 minutes to tell everyone to wash their hands. Starbucks doesn't have those timers normally. I used to work fast food and those timers were a standard. There are timers for when to change sanitizer and get clean pitchers and bar parts, but no. There hadn't been one specifically for hand washing. I work retail. We're out of paper towels, wet wipes, hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and water. We're also quickly running out of baby food, canned goods, cereals, and bleach. I've also had some old boomer tell me she hopes I catch coronavirus and die because I couldn't magically pull a bottle of Germ-X out of my ass for her to buy. I work in the hotel industry. My hotel has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue between cancellations of leisure travel and business travel. We've seen cancellations all the way through June-July. We were tracking for a huge Q1 but now everything is up in the air. We're having to shuffle labor so some of our hourly staff is losing shifts since we don't have the occupancy in the building to justify having the full staff in-house. It's a really scary time in my industry. All of the revenue managers in the city are having a collective panic attack. I went on holiday to Asia and my boss told me not to come to work for 3 weeks. Even though financially I'm screwed, these 3 weeks have been bloody marvelous. We got a message on the portal that sums down to, wash your hand you dirty ducks. I work in healthcare in an area that's had an outbreak. It is certain I will be getting the virus. Just a matter of when. I'm so sorry. Thank you for putting yourself at risk to care for others. My heart breaks for all of those affected. I live in rural Michigan and work just over the border in Indiana. And so far the only thing that has changed is gas prices have gone down to just over $2. I live in California and the twin ports of LA and Long Beach are kind of in a shutdown. Customs is slowly inspecting container ships and that's creating a ship backlog. There's talks about a nationwide recession due to the slowdown at the ports. I'm a nanny in Seattle. Both parents are working from home so the house has been chaos. I can't take the little one to all the usual activities so he's getting cabin fever. Bright side. My hour commute has been reduced to 35 minutes because everyone else is working from home and there's no traffic. I work in a hospital. An email went out today telling us to involve the minimum number of staff for any patient on droplet airborne precautions, no students, scribes, etc. to conserve mask supplies. They usually turn a blind eye to staff taking supplies home but they're threatening disciplinary action now for anyone who takes masks sanitizer. Someone stole the sanitizer off the secretary's desk today. We're encouraged to have a low threshold for calling in and use telemedicine when appropriate instead of coming to a doctor's office. They'll advance us 2 weeks of PTO if we don't have any. Which is all well and good. But they're not giving extra to us. Just advancing it. And I'd much rather use PTO for vacation so it's kind of a bummer since I'll almost definitely get it. Web developer at an office. So far no impact at all. I also write software and my office already has contingency plans for everyone to work at home for a few weeks if necessary. I already work at home 80%. So not that big of a change for me. I wish we could do that. Stupid Cisco licensing limits on VPNs. We're currently working with CDW to upgrade. But it's taking a while. Apparently they're overloaded with other people doing the same. My dad is having a hard time cause he works in the airport and because of lot travel numbers they are removing overtime pay. My ex-husband works at an airport. I deeply appreciate the fact that he doesn't come into my house anymore. I'm immunocompromised when he drops off the kid. He just parks in the driveway and tells son to go inside and wash his hands. When we have to talk, we do it on the phone. He doesn't want any airport related cooties to get on me. I work as a restaurant server in 2 different casinos. We get a lot of traffic from states with confirmed outbreaks, but since it's a kitchen food environment it's basically just make sure you're washing your hands and following the safety guidelines you should be following every day anyways. And please don't come in sick. Which you shouldn't do anyways. Honestly all we have is some more signs on the wall telling people to hand wash. And a few sanitizing stations set up by doorways. The only other place I've noticed its effect in my town is the local bulk barn isn't letting people bring their own containers. Which is one of the biggest points of shopping there. Seems a bit useless as well when every customer has to use the same metal scoop to fill up their product bags anyway. My boss's girlfriend works as a travel agent. He says usually in February they do around $1 million in sales. This year they barely did 500k. I'm actually surprised they got that much tbh. Anecdotally, my fiance and I had a trip planned to go to Italy in April. We had to cancel due to obvious reasons. This made us reach out to our travel agent to book a new trip somewhere else. If that new destination gets hit, we will rinse and repeat the process. I assume our second trip would be considered new business and add to February's sales numbers. I teach at a school. And we've received notices from superintendent's office as to what precautions to take. And to stay home if you're running a temperature. We're also getting disinfectant bottles and hand sanitizer, though obviously in short supply at the moment. I think it's been mentioned. But to reiterate, the concern is for those who are immunocompromised, as well as those at either extreme of the age spectrum. Taking basic, simple precautions will go a long way. Just because it isn't the plague or SARS doesn't mean it won't affect you or those you love. Don't freak out, but don't act like it's nothing. Just be mindful and take sensible steps to ensure you're safe, as well as others. Honestly, if I found out I had it but didn't heed any of the warnings, or went about my day without a concern, and then heard that one of my students' grandparents or infant sibling had contracted it and was fighting for their lives, I'd be devastated. I'm a software developer, so no real change here. But I was scheduled to go to a conference at the end of the month. But company has cancelled travel even though the conference is still going on. Seafood. Some prices dropped due to decreased Chinese demand and import problems. Live lobsters and salmon. The Boston Seafood Show was cancelled. Japanese fish are hard to come by. I'm terrified to go to work. I work retail. We have hundreds of people coming in and out every day. People sneeze and cough and don't even attempt to cover their mouths, and if I say anything to them, I could get in trouble. I had to have someone in produce pull a bunch of apples the other day because there was a kid just standing there coughing on them and his parents just let him. And we can't use doctor's notes as excuses. If we get sick, we have to come in or risk losing our jobs. I hate this company. The stock market is ducking wild. It really is. My boss sold everything Tuesday before last, then bought again Monday morning, then sold it all at the end of the day, then bought Wednesday morning, then sold Wednesday afternoon. He make 50% on his money in only a little more than a week, so he's in a damn good mood. I'm one of 3 doctors that own a practice in the US. We had a meeting to determine that if we shut down for weeks when this gets to our section of the Midwest, Do we pay the employees? We all decided yes. So we are all putting more money in savings so our 34 employees still get full payroll even if we close. If we close, no inflow of money to the practice. So the money has to come from somewhere. So much for getting ahead on my student loans. But I'm pretty sure 2-3 weeks of no pay will hurt my staff more than it would hurt me. I bet the local hospital will just screw over their staff and send them home without pay. Holy shit, is it annoying. I work in the HR industry and all I've done this week is write articles, blog posts, and emails about how to treat your employees during the pandemic and what your policies should look like. I love that my company is providing good and helpful guidance for people. But boy howdy am I ready to be done talking about it. The coronavirus isn't impacting my job because I don't have one, but it is impacting my parents' job. We live in Hong Kong and my parents own a security tech factory in mainland China. They can't go to the factory to do work, but they also have an office in Hong Kong where they can work. One of their workers came back from Wuhan but didn't quarantine herself and went to work anyway. My parents found out and their office had to be shut down temporarily. They couldn't work so they couldn't make money for the family. But the thing was, my mum was the boss, so that meant she still had to pay workers even though they aren't working. So basically my family is losing more and more money every day and we have no way of getting more money until the government decides it is safe for the office to reopen. I haven't seen my parents so stressed out in my entire life. Every time I see them they are either on their computers sending emails and writing documents or on the phone talking to government officials. I haven't seen them in a good mood or relax in a while and I'm starting to really worry about them. The worst thing was, the worker knew all this was going to happen. She just didn't care. My parents said the office should reopen sometime within the next few days, so hopefully everything will be okay soon. Edit. Good news. The day after I posted this the office reopened, so everything is going to be okay. As a web developer I now have to limit the amount of users accessing the website at the same time to decrease the chance of infection. While this is pretty annoying, it also eliminates scalability as a requirement. Yes. I'm just kidding. Though, I wouldn't be too surprised if a customer actually came up with such a request. We now have a daily janitorial team whose number one priority is disinfecting door handles, water fountains, keyboards, screens. Basically anything people touch a lot. Also, if you have it or a family member has it but you don't have the sick time for it, then sick time will be given to you. Also, all travel and large gatherings are cancelled through the end of the month. The last one is kinda disappointing because there were events planned, but health safety is definitely more important. Not necessarily my job, but my school. I'm 17 and I go to high school in Washington State. There's been a lot of schools shutting down around us because of concerns or cleaning. I've been pushing through it. First case in our tiny town just got confirmed. It's definitely weird seeing our tight-knit community on the headlines of CNN. We've had letters sent home on COVID-19 and my astronomy teacher has been updating us every day, as his wife is an emergency room nurse. I know we'll shut down eventually, but it's just a matter of when. The atmosphere at school is a lot more subdued now. Everyone is being more cautious. Quite a few aren't even showing up anymore. It's just weird. Our inventory comes exclusively from China, but we're stocked up enough to not risk running out. Current orders are slightly more expensive, but our margins are good enough that we're just eating the extra expense and keeping our clients happy. Not too bad. All of our manufacturing comes from China. The only difference I've seen so far is that people don't pop the bubble wrap any longer. That was fun to do. So it's sad to have that fun taken away. International Business School. We have had to bring back students from countries where they are doing their obligatory year abroad or international internships. This week we announced the destinations to the first years. Obviously, anyone who chose China or Italy or South Korea is on a conditional shortlist. Our current interns are freaking out. One such student has had the craziest year of her life. Beginning a 6-month internship in California that was cut short by wildfires. Finding a new internship in Australia that ended after only a week because fires, but managing to transfer to Hong Kong for the remainder. She got out of Hong Kong to go back to California for some master's program, but now she is in quarantine in France. There is a crisis meeting every day at 4:30 about this situation. Seeing as how schools are beginning to close, there is a good chance that I might have a few weeks off in the future, which will be chaos for my employer. All sporting events are cancelled. All conferences cancelled. Some teachers are doing video lessons. No more handshakes. Cafeteria staff is down to about 60%. A few colleagues are on lockdown because they live in areas with multiple cases. TLD are trying to adapt, but we know that an international school is a virus playground. I've been a kindergarten teacher in Shanghai for the past 5 years. I went on a trip to Cuba for Chinese New Year, and by the time I returned, the infection rate was climbing dramatically and everyone here was in a panic. My kindergarten is closed indefinitely and my company has assigned us to online teaching, but it's a total mess and really disorganized. The city is slowly returning to normal. Businesses that haven't closed are resuming, albeit with reduced hours. And some companies are having workers come back in, but it still feels very eerie with the masks, restrictions and temperature checks everywhere. After being cooped up at home for so long, I'm starting to wonder if I should throw in the towel and return to my home country to seek out better options. Professional speaker in Europe. Conferences being cancelled all over the place. I've only lost 2 so far, but I'm waiting to see how many more companies decide to cancel. In many cases these are probably postponements and I'll get the work eventually. Many of my colleagues are in full panic mode. We are all self-employed. It is exposing the divide between people with high monthly overheads and low savings and people, like me, with deliberately low costs and high savings. I can afford to shrug and take personal time for a few months until things stabilize. Apparently the movie industry is going to lose a ton of money due to the virus, especially in areas where the virus hits hard. The theater chain I work for is already filing for bankruptcy. And if it hits our area, it could kill any chance of us recovering from it. I work a company that does trade show booths. We have had many cancellations. One more as I was typing this. I have been looking busy for the last week or 2. And preparing to be laid off or have my hours cut severely for the foreseeable future until things get going. Just to walk through the front door you have to go through a screening process. We're doing the opposite. I work in a Microsoft building for a vendor. And security has stopped doing pat-downs and has basically stopped searching bags. I don't know if they were given permission to stop, or they stopped on their own due to fear. We can't order surgical masks, so we are reusing them. We need surgical masks for actual surgery. Reusing them isn't that bad as we are protecting patients from things we breath out. And reusing them 2-3x isn't probably detrimental. Just annoying.